Hey, how's it going everyone? It's me, it's Count Jinsula, and welcome to another Pokemon Go deep dive video. Today we're going to be taking a look at what I believe is the absolute best Great League team currently in Pokemon Go, and this team consists of Galarian Stunfisk, Skarmory, and Walrein. Now all three of these Pokemon are extremely powerful for the Great League in their own right, but I believe if you combine these three Pokemon together into one team, you are going to be unstoppable, and I'm going to be telling you why. But of course, like every other Great League team out there, this team will still have its fair share of weaknesses, and I'm going to be getting into that as well. Alright, so without further ado, let's roll the intro and jump right into it. Alrighty, so before we start this video, I have to preface and say that I am not the best Go Battle League expert out there. In fact, I would consider myself as kind of low tier. When it comes to PvP content creators, there's a lot of great people out there, and I do think that their judgment is going to be a lot better than mine. But regardless, I still think this team is one of the absolute best, and it's because it has given me a lot of success in the Go Battle League. So let's dive right into it. So, this team consists of Skarmory, Galarian Stunfisk, and Walrein. All three of these Pokemon individually are considered top tier when it comes to the Go Battle League, and you really can't go wrong with any of these Pokemon. But I actually found that all three of these Pokemon synergize extremely well together, and they are able to take down some of the hardest hitting Pokemon in the Great League. So first off, let's go over each one individually, starting with Galarian Stunfisk. This one Pokemon is probably the bane of most players because it has a lot of key wins against some of the strongest Pokemon in the game. First and foremost, it is a ground and steel type Pokemon, which is of course going to give you a lot of type advantages against some of the most meta Pokemon like Bastiodon, Nidoqueen, Altaria, Skarmory, and Umbreon. The rank 1 IVs for this Pokemon is going to be 0 attack, 12 defense, and 15 health. This is going to give you the most ideal stats for Galarian Stunfisk in the Great League, and in general, it's going to be a really powerful Pokemon to use. Now, I've used this Pokemon as a safe switch, but it's ideally going to be the best as a lead Pokemon. So, if you're constructing this team, I would actually start off with Galarian Stunfisk. Considering that most of the Pokemon that it is very strong against are considered leads, it's going to be a very powerful Pokemon to use. In terms of its move pool, it's going to come with either Mud Shot or Metal Claw for its fast moves, and then in terms of its charge attacks, it can come with Rock Slide, Earthquake, Muddy Water, or Flash Cannon. Now, out of all of these, I would go with Mud Shot for its fast moves, mainly because Mud Shot is going to give you just a lot of energy, and that's what's going to allow you to beat so many different Pokemon. And speaking of those charge attacks, you will want to go with Rock Slide and Earthquake. These moves are what's going to give you a lot of the type advantages in the Great League meta, especially against all of those pesky flying types, so you should definitely go with both of these. Next, let's talk about Walrein, which is another extremely popular Pokemon for the Great League, and for good reason. It is an Ice and Water type Pokemon, and it will be a very strong counter to a lot of the Pokemon that are considered meta. Now, one key win that Walrein has that Galarian Stunfisk doesn't is of course Azumarill, which is a very common Pokemon in the Great League, and you will want to make sure you have a Walrein on hand when you're going up against this Pokemon. Now, even though both of these Pokemon share a similar typing, the reason why it beats out Azumarill is because you can get off a lot more charge attacks and deal out a lot more damage. On top of that, Walrein is extremely tanky, coming in with some really high defense stats naturally, and of course, if you were to get yourself a rank 1 of this Pokemon, then you're going to win out even more battles. The rank 1 IVs for this Pokemon are going to be pretty much identical to Galarian Stunfisk. You will want to look for one with 0 attack, 12 defense, and 15 health. Of course, this Pokemon's effectiveness is going to be contingent contingent on its move pool. First and foremost, it has the fast moves Powder Snow, Waterfall, and Frost Breath. Of course, Powder Snow is going to be the Community Day move. And then in terms of charge attacks, it can come with Icicle Spear, Earthquake, Water Pulse, and Blizzard. And of course, just like with Powder Snow, Icicle Spear is going to be an event exclusive move, which you could only get through Elite TMs. Now, out of these moves, the most ideal setup is going to be Powder Snow for your fast moves, and then you will want Icicle Spear and Earthquake. The reason why you will want to go with Earthquake over Water Pulse, even though you have a Galarian Stunfisk in your team, is because this move just deals a lot of damage regardless if you have the type advantage. So, having two different Pokemon with Earthquake on your team, that could definitely throw your opponent off for a loop. And the nice thing about Walrein is that it has very few counters, and the Pokemon that do counter it are countered themselves by Galarian Stunfisk, so that's something you should keep in mind. And finally, let's talk about Skarmory, which is a Steel and Flying type Pokemon, and it's pretty much going to be your coverage against all of those counters to Galarian Stunfisk and Walrein. The really nice thing about this Pokemon is just how bulky and defensive it is. Not only does it have very few counters, but it pretty much resists a lot of the other Pokemon types out there. This is why I love running Skarmory on this team, mainly because the other two Pokemon are really offensive based, but Skarmory is extremely defensive. This is one of the reasons why I have it as my lead, because it tends to win out against a lot of other Pokemon, but it is actually a really good Pokemon to have as a closer. The ideal perfect IVs for this Pokemon is going to be 0 attack, 15 defense, and 14 health. And if you are able to get a rank 1 of this Pokemon, then it is going to completely destroy a lot of other Pokemon because of just how tanky it is. Now, in terms of its move pool, it's going to be less diverse than the other Pokemon on this team, but that's going to be okay because the reason why you use this Pokemon is not necessarily for its attack power, but it comes with either Air Slash or Steel Wing for its fast moves, and then its charge attacks can be either Brave Bird, Sky Attack, Flash Cannon, or Return if it is purified. The ideal moveset that you will want to go with is going to be Air Slash for its fast moves, and then for its charge attacks, you will want to go with Sky Attack and Brave Bird. All of these moves benefit from Stab, which is something you should keep in mind, but of course when it comes to Sky Attack and Brave Bird, you could bait out a lot of shields and also deal a lot of damage to unsuspecting players. The key thing with this Pokemon is that it's going to be a counter against Medicham and Scrafty, which is of course the two Pokemon that you will want to worry about when you're going with this team. Okay, so now that we've talked about each of these Pokemon individually, let's talk about how they fare as a team. The real strength behind this team of Pokemon is of course going to be its type coverage. If we take a look at pvpoke.com and rate this team against the current meta, you can see that there are very few Pokemon that counter all three of the Pokemon on this team. What's really interesting is that there's going to be scenarios where you're pretty much just going to outlast every single opponent, and because there are certain Pokemon that are really strong against Galarian Stunfisk and Walrein, Skarmory covers those holes. And of course, any Pokemon that very handedly deals with Skarmory is going to be covered with Galarian Stunfisk or Walrein. Now, if you take a look at this chart, you could see that there's still a handful of Pokemon that are cause for concern. First and foremost, there is Registeel, which has actually gave me a lot of trouble in the past, but this one Pokemon is quite rare in the Great League, mainly because of how difficult it is to get it. But if you're going up against a Registeel, it may come down to when you have your Galarian Stunfisk on the field, and if your Walrein has enough energy to get off a couple of Earthquakes. Otherwise, Registeel is going to give you the most trouble out of all the Pokemon that are currently meta, but otherwise, you're pretty much going to be covered all around. Now, another key thing from this chart is that you can see that it is going to be strong against a lot of the most common Pokemon that are currently out there. Like, for example, any team with Altaria is pretty much going to get wrecked by this team. And then, of course, there's Pokemon like Shadow Nidoqueen, which has been very common lately. And then, of course, any team with Alolan Ninetales is going to struggle against this team as well. There's just a lot of different possibilities with this team, and you're pretty much going to be covered against some of the most common metas. Personally, I'm a big fan of this team, mainly because it has given me a lot of solid wins within the Great League, and on top of that, it's going to be really hard to find yourself in a situation where you're going to get hard countered with all three of your Pokemon. But of course, no matter how good the team is individually, you will still want to put in a lot of practice and do a lot of reps with this team in order to master when you want to switch and what Pokemon to use in certain situations. I will say that if you are looking for a solid Great League team, then this is definitely one that I would suggest going with. It's certainly not going to win 100% of your games, but if you put in a lot of practice with this team, then you will get a lot of wins compared to losses. And ultimately, that's what it's going to come down to when it comes to grinding out the Great League. So yeah, I really wanted to share this team with all of you, considering just how much success it has given me, and I would love to know your thoughts down below. Is this a team that is worth trying, or do you think it is kind of overhyped? Is there a particular Pokemon that you use that you believe would hard counter this team? Definitely share that down below. And yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And don't forget that little bell so you stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support this channel in any way, then do consider checking out the links in the description below. For all of my patrons, they get the benefit of being added to my friends list. So if you want to play with me and raid with me, then do consider checking out my Patreon. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. I'm Count Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.